Hello there.
Well, how you doing? Hello.
Doing all right.
Good.
This is Pastor Dennis Liebich, who's here with us, and our guest preacher this weekend, as we're bringing in faces from Trinity's past and present on some levels. Dennis was a part of Trinity from birth.
Yeah, I'm one of those faces from the past. I
Yes,
think.
yes, and
Yeah.
we haven't brought any future faces that we know about. I mean, they might be watching right now, but you're kind of unique. Unique in a lot of ways, I'm sure, but unique in our string of guest preachers we've had, because the first three, well, I guess not. So I'm sorry, I'm thinking out loud here. So Steve Shave was with us back in January, and he was a son of the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michael Steinbrook was also a son of the congregation. So I guess Pastor Allersmeyer last month, he was the anomaly. He was the only previous pastor here. So
Wow.
So yeah. So you're a son of the congregation. Tell us about that.
Well, I was born here in Toledo and baptized at Trinity at Vance and Ewing, the older church.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to school there as well for 2 years, second grade. I remember some of those areas over there. We used to play on the side of the school on the street.
Right.
And had to run to get to the corner of the building to see the first in line. And just some of those memories just keep coming back.
Yeah.
Moved out here then in the third grade.
Yeah.
And had Mrs. Pruder.
Okay.
And one of the things I remember is school was just getting started. We had to ride a school bus to give way out here. This was nowhere out. I mean, out in the cornfields.
Which is crazy to think about now.
Unbelievable.
It's so built up these days. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was coming down and seeing these full trees, there was nothing out here. Nothing. But I remember third grade and riding the bus and all these other kind of things. This is great. And was confirmed here then at Trinity. So I met my wife here too, and was married here. Buried by parents here, so I guess I've been here for.
Yeah.
Trinity Hill is a real special place for me.
Now, I should have asked you this beforehand. I'll ask you to dig back. Were your parents born into the congregation, or did they?
No, I don't believe they were.
Okay.
No, they were. They came in.
They moved to the area. Yeah. I was going to look in the book this morning, but I took this morning off, so I didn't get around to that. But yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. So your parents were the first generation of your family to be members here, and then.
Right. My brother Buck is still here.
Yeah.
And, so.
Yep.
Did really well.
Yep. No, it's awesome. Awesome to have you back with us, and it's a neat perspective to see, and I guess this is one of the more unique things. You go back before Pastor Shave's time, back before Michael Steinbrook's time, back before Pastor Allersmeyer time. So you're drawn. I don't want to say way back, but you're going way back, and having witnessed as a student the transition of location out to here. That was a historic thing for us.
When we moved out here, there was no parking lot or per se behind the school, and we used to go sledding out back there.
Down into the creek?
Down in the side of the hill. And, but then when Mrs. Pruder's class once in a while let us go down to the creek.
Okay, yeah.
And slide on the ice. I'm sure they don't allow that today.
No, we don't get down there too much.
I don't think so.
Erosion and stuff. It's really. I've taken my kids back there sometimes, but poison ivy and everything is not exactly.
That was a big thing. That was Trinity. I remember when Trinity was built. Built the sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
I was a junior in high school when that happened. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, that kind of dates things. So that
dates me anyway. I don't know about things.
Well, but that overlaps you with Pastor Shave, who's with us, because he was the first one baptized in the new sanctuary.
Oh, really?
That's what he.
Oh my goodness.
He shared that with us. So, so yeah, kind of some overlap there. But
well, my confirmation class, I had in our confirmation class, Chris Spawn, Chris Javer was in that class. Bonnie Krantz was in that class. I was in that class. Another pastor, Phil Jordan, was in that class. So it was an interesting class.
Yeah.
And that was a time when Carl Bushline, Pastor Bushline, was the pastor.
Yep.
And he mentioned to my mom that I should probably consider going into ministry.
Okay.
And I didn't think he was talking to me. I said, "No, Mom, I don't think so."
Maybe he was just being nice to her or something, or
I don't know, but that wasn't in my vision back then.
Well, that's interesting. Well, let's go down that path. So what was it then that took you towards ministry? What was that like?
Well, being here and working at Kroger's in Southland,
Mm-hmm.
and then Food Town, some of these other places. But anyway, really turned me around a lot. Was my good friend John Quackenbush and I were going out west,
Mm-hmm.
and we made it all the way to San Francisco.
Okay.
That's west, and we were going over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
And it was something that I always dreamt about. Or thought, Golden Gate Bridge, this is a milestone, a landmark. We should. Anyway, we were going over it, and couldn't see the water underneath, and I couldn't see the top of the bridge. And it was just foggy.
Yeah, yeah.
Just foggy, and right there, something, the Lord said in my mind, just in passing, saying, "Gosh, look what man has done."
Mm.
Okay. And from there, okay, that was just that
Yeah.
thought. Look what man has done to my creation. And we left there and did our thing, went and came back, and we went through Altenburg, Wittenberg area in Missouri. And
Okay.
one of the youth people here, director Bob Castle, was teaching there, got called there, and John and I stopped by there. And he said, "You guys are going to go to Bible class, a Sunday school." So we did, and he said, in the Bible class, to turn to Hebrews.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for it in the Old Testament. Looking for it.
Well, yeah. Well, the Old Testament was written in Hebrew, so
Well, yeah. But I went to Trinity.
Yeah.
Okay. And in Trinity here,
Yeah.
we had to learn the books of the Bible.
Right. Yeah.
And I knew the books, but I was looking for it in the Old Testament, and then the Lord says, "It isn't mankind that's messed up; it's you."
Mm.
So anyway, that was kind of the two things that really struck at me. And the
Interesting.
Lord brought me then to turn some corners and go on to Concordias and eventually ministry. It was different.
Yeah, no, that's bizarre. If you would have asked me to guess your path to ministry, I never would have guessed it involved the Golden Gate Bridge and John Quackenbush. I don't know which is more unbelievable. No,
I'll
that's
take
great.
John any day.
No, I will too. But no, I love John, so he'll appreciate that. But
I'm sure he will.
So that's amazing how the Lord.
So what happened then for me? Then after that, I went on to go to Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at Toledo University for 3 years studying in accounting, bookkeeping and stuff. And then going into Ann Arbor, I just needed 1 year, and I got an associate degree there.
Okay.
And that's where I went on to do some Lutheran Youth Encounter team ministry, and worked in different churches for weeks with kids throughout the summer.
Yeah.
It was a neat experience.
Yeah, you were mentioning that before we started, is there an equivalent today to that Lutheran Youth Encounter? It's probably one of the precursors to the youth gathering.
Yeah, it really is. That's what it was. And,
okay.
Yeah.
But it sounds like a neat model where they would send some, were you a student as part of that program, or?
Actually, they didn't tie into the college at all, but they were a standalone Lutheran thing going to the different
kind of like you come work for us for the summer in between.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what a neat model to think that you send these guys and gals who are studying for ministry and put them in a place where they can make an impact for a week or two and move on.
I think it impacted us more than the kids.
That's usually how it goes. I've only been on a couple mission trips, but every time I've come back, I'm like, I feel bad for the people I was supposed to be serving because I got more out of it than they did. Yeah.
Sure. And I guess on them, those LYE experiences, it kind of, the Lord says, to me, it said, "Look what I can do through you."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Put me in areas that I had never put myself in.
Right.
Talking on the radio, doing some. The Lutheran Encounter team is here. We'll give them the service on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, I had no idea how to do a preaching, a sermon at that time, but I was forced into that role.
Yeah, right.
And
kind of a baptism by fire.
Oh, it sure was. It sure was. But it's just with me, you can do the impossible.
Yeah,
that's kind of what the Lord was saying.
Well, that's kind of how the Lord works. He takes people and uses them, and people are people.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
So you got through your schooling, and you kind of told me before that you were working and going to school back and
Yeah,
forth.
I had to work my way through school.
And it was during school that you met your wife here?
Yeah, in one of those interim times, Lois was a teacher here. I was called in the middle of the winter, and I was just back from one of those LIE experiences, teaching Bible class here at Trinity. And a couple from the church, Ed and Lil Huner, come up, and Lil come up to me and says, "Hey, Dennis," and introduced me to Lois and said, "I want to introduce you to your future wife."
Yeah.
And I, oh, no way, no. Anyway, it was funny how that all came about. But the Lord, that was pretty prophetic.
That's amazing, and I want to encourage anybody who's watching who might have the opportunity to be a Lutheran church matchmaker to maybe keep your eyes open to see the young people around you.
You never know. You never know.
It seems to have worked for you guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chuck Weiss was the principal here at the time, and invited me over to their house when the staff was there for a closing thing at the end of the school year.
Yeah.
And I should have known better, because I've been here all my life at Trinity, and he'd never asked me to go over his house.
Yeah. So he was part of the
there.
plan.
Yeah, he started kind of. Yeah, they got me,
well,
and it was great. I was so blessed.
Yeah, well, and then sometimes the Lord needs to use more than one person to work on somebody.
You're in a kid.
Yeah.
Well, then I went back and at school, and finally then went as a DCE.
Okay.
And I graduated from Concordia River Forest.
So yeah, Director of Christian Education, and that's
And of all places, I was called back to Toledo.
Did you ask for that, or
no? I did not.
Okay.
But Pastor Bertram was the pastor over at Good Shepherd, and the way it all worked out, I was called over there, and had some great experiences with Pastor Bertram too. And he was Worship for Shut-ins, which was a worship television ministry back then in the 70s, which he recorded his services at WSP, the TV station downtown. Yeah. And then they'd make a tape, and he'd send it to one church, and then one church would send to another, and they'd bicycle these things around.
That's kind of amazing, kind of like the early circular letters that the apostles sent.
That's exactly what it was like.
Yeah. Well, and that's I'm glad to hear that, because we know Worship Anew now. It's
the same one.
It's previously called Worship for Shut-ins, and Pastor Allersmeyer, who was with us last month, he's a regular preacher on Worship for Shut-in, or Worship Anew, and but I had heard they started in Toledo at Good Shepherd there, and so it's nice to. Were you there when they started it, or was it going when he was?
It was going on.
Yeah.
When I got there, it was near the end. Pastor Bertram then got cancer.
Okay.
And passed away when I was a DCE there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't continue. That was way above my pay grade.
Right.
But it turned out that they kept it going. So.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. You're kind of our Trinity connection, because we knew it had Toledo roots. Our students went over a couple years ago and sang there.
Really?
And so the way they do it is they'll hold recordings of choirs, and they'll drop them in from time to time. So every once in a while, people will say, "Yeah, we saw the choir on again," and so.
Oh yeah.
I think a couple of my kids are in those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a DCE, then went on to the seminary.
Okay.
And graduated in '86.
Yeah, and you had shared with me beforehand that when Pastor Bertram passed, you kind of fell into some more leadership roles there, and that kind of another way that the Lord kind of urged you towards pastoral ministry instead of DCE ministry, a different type of ministry.
Yeah, working with people. I'm a people person.
Right.
So that was I had a great LIE experience, Young Life we did with the kids at the Good Shepherd.
Okay.
Did some big camps, and took some big trips. But, then going on to the SEM, graduated in '86 then.
Okay.
And was called then as a missionary at large.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about, because you were telling me you were mission planter, started all these churches. So missionary at large to where?
Well, you don't know until you read it on the call document. At Vicarage, I said I'd like to I'd like to go either the East Coast or the West Coast on
Mhm.
vicarage because I've been in the Midwest. I want to try something different, so I
Yeah.
got called to Atlantic, Iowa.
Okay.
So it was not, but it was to a mission church, and they were just getting their first building going, and it was a great experience.
So the name of the city was Atlantic.
Atlantic,
In
yeah,
Iowa.
in Iowa.
So you got the ocean.
I got the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a funny
Yeah.
thing. And then call day. Then back at the sim, everybody's getting their calls.
Mhm.
You know how that goes. It's a big deal. And,
Yeah.
and they say your name and what district and what church you're going to and everything. And I got a call as Dennis Liebich, missionary at large, Missouri district. That was it. And that was
Right.
all. That was all that was on my call papers.
Yeah.
And it didn't say where. It didn't
You
say,
don't even know where to go. Yeah.
and all my classmates are looking. Oh, look at this place! And they're finding it on the map and the house that they're going to live in and
Right.
all this stuff. I had a salary. I says, Lois, I don't know where we're going, but we're going to get paid for it.
That's good.
So that was a good thing back
Yeah.
then. Yeah, and I was called then to St. Charles County.
Okay.
And Zion Harvester was a church in that area, a big church with a school.
Mm-hmm.
And they were about 100 years old back then, and they were still referred to the daughter congregation of the mission of the church in St. Charles, Emmanuel.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was my mother congregation then, and I was on staff there for a year. And the pastor there, Pastor Harms, is a great guy. The Lord's blessed me with great pastors.
Mhm.
And he said, to stay here, do some Bible studies, preach, and when you go to start to plant your church, you're welcome to take as many people that will follow you
Hmm.
that want to go.
Wow.
And that's how we planted Messiah.
What a.
And that was, it turned, the Lord blessed that church. It was just a neat thing.
Yeah.
One of the things we wanted, and I thought was very important, was keeping our relationship with the school.
Mm-hmm.
Zion had a big school, and those families that would follow and wanted to have their kids still being able to go to school.
Yeah.
And I worked that out with their principal, and we wound up not just paying tuition to Zion, but I asked them, how much does it really cost to educate a child?
Okay, so you were kind of subsidizing the
Yes, sir.
the education
And
of the
yes,
students.
we did. And the neat thing about that then is when it came time to build and the church started growing, we were already giving almost $50,000-$60,000 towards education.
Wow.
And so the next step was just real easy to go in their school.
Okay.
And we planned a school there.
That's awesome.
And that's neat. That's neat. And the Lord blessed that. And there's probably 400 kids at that school now.
That's amazing.
I mean, it is. It's just unbelievable.
And so, how long were you there?
16 years.
Okay. And so
Yeah,
you got
that's a
to
long time.
you got to that's a long time to, because a lot of times, at least my limited awareness, because I got so much experience.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of church planters. You get it going and then you get out of there. It sounds like you got it going and helped to sustain it to
stayed.
the point of a
It's
school.
a rare
and,
breed.
Yeah.
And different planners do it different ways.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different things for a skill set for a pastor to plan a church, unite people, and,
Right.
and et cetera.
Yep.
And then as a church grows, you get to more administrative things
Right.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I reached the Peter principle, I guess. So, by the time you got that far, it was I needed to go on.
Yeah. Right.
And the Lord blessed that church with a new pastor that came in, and or my associate
Mhm.
that just automatically filled that role.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was cool. Yeah, and I went to Carroll Stream for a couple of years in Illinois,
Mhm.
and then I was called again to plant another church down in Naples,
Okay.
in Florida.
So your Carol Stream call was that
Our Savior.
Our Savior, and
Yeah.
and it wasn't a church planter call. It
No,
was,
I was associate.
Yep, associate pastor.
Yeah.
How long were you in the Carol Stream for?
Just a couple of years.
And then-
just a couple of years.
and then-
it just it worked out better.
Well, somebody with
I
your-
needed to.
Somebody with your skill
Detox.
set, the Lord, you kind of get that break, and I'm
Yeah.
sure your juices got flowing, wheels got turning again to want to
Exactly.
start something new again.
That's
And-
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Yep. And they called and went down there and we wound up. The interesting things about mission planners is we worship in strange places.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And at Messiah it was a KC Hall.
Okay.
Okay, and these guys that took care of this KC Hall,
That's Knights of Columbus.
Knights of Columbus.
Yeah.
It's like how they take care of their garage. And we had a lot more flies in the service on those early days than we did people.
People. That's when Pastor Shea was here. He was talking about he did a church plant down in I think it was Georgia. He said, and they were worshiping in a funeral home when they got started.
We're any port in a storm.
Yeah.
And then down in Naples, then we wound up in a middle school.
Okay. Yeah.
And every week we would set up the chairs and get the altar ready. And the thing unique about that one was it was also a hurricane shelter.
Okay.
Okay, and I was called down there 2004, 2005.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Okay, in 2004, 2005, we're talking about Hurricane Katrina, and there was 9 hurricanes those first 2 years I was there in our area.
Yeah.
And so we lost a lot of services on Sunday because people were coming in to...
But were you able to minister?
No, they didn't. They didn't
clear
allow
you
us
out.
to do it.
Yeah,
They did.
Yeah.
They did. So,
Huh.
So that was interesting time for us.
Oh,
And people ask how long I was in Florida. I would tell them, I used to tell them 9 hurricanes.
Yeah, right.
And now it's probably about 15. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And so, how long did you serve? Because you planted that congregation?
Yeah,
and
planted it, and I stayed there 12 years.
Okay.
That was a longer time. And that church in Florida, the retiree state,
yeah.
we planned a preschool.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh.
it was great. And we have about 120 to 140 kids in that preschool.
That's awesome.
It was a great ministry.
Yeah.
It was a great ministry. So yeah, that was school and preschool. A lot of that's my roots here. You know, when I grew up.
You grew up with it. You saw the value of it for your life. And,
I did.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many times that I would mention Trinity or my upbringing here. Thankful for I wasn't thankful then, but thankful now about the memory work.
Yeah.
All the Bible passages and the hymns and things that I had to memorize. And that really helped me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the foundation. You don't take you take it for granted when you're going through it, but it really gives you something to draw on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So tell me about your family. So you and Lois got married here did you get married in the new sanctuary then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, we did.
Your wedding was here and
Yeah. We have 2 boys, Jonathan and David. Jonathan was born in Oregon. And then when we were at DCE, he was going around the parsonage here as a little infant.
Okay.
And when we were at the seminary, David was born.
Okay.
So, and now David's living in St. Louis.
Okay.
Jonathan went on as a pastor. We have 2 grandsons, and he's doing very well. He's in Glendora, Michigan, which is, people say, where is that? It doesn't. The post office closed in Glendora. The lady shut down her house.
Really?
Oh yeah. The
Wow.
post office was in a house. And anyway.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that before.
That's the way we were when I was on Vicarage too.
I was gonna say that sounds very, very old school.
It's small. It was a small area.
Yeah.
So yeah, but now, and that's 30 miles north of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
South Bend, and he's been there, I don't know, 10 years I think already now.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
He's been out for a while, and David does prosthetics.
Okay.
And yeah, so he's a neat people person too. He'd be good going into people's homes and cheering them up and talking with them. Good ministry he's got too.
That's awesome. And grandkids?
We have 2, Benjamin and Paul, and Henry. Henry was just born to David just a couple of years ago, and Paul and Benny, Benny's going to be a senior next year, and Paul just got confirmed.
Awesome.
Yeah. How neat was that?
Yeah, and it's what you said. The confirmation's what got you up here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When Chris called, Mrs. Spawn,
Yeah.
and asked if I'd be interested. And we were looking at a date, and I said, well, we're going to be going up that way anyway, so if we could work something out, it seems like we did.
Yeah, no, that's awesome that it worked out, and a great year to be up here. But it probably means you probably won't be. Will you be around in July or
No.
November? We got a couple more big events coming up.
What you
but
got in November?
in November, on November 3rd, we're having a big banquet.
Oh, really?
Celebration. So yeah, it's.
Well, I might keep that in mind.
Yeah. We'll send you an official
Okay,
invite.
appreciate
So yeah.
Yeah, and outside worship services, an outdoor worship
Yeah, on
service?
July 21st, we're having an outdoor
Okay.
service. Which was that something you did here growing up?
No.
Okay,
I-
because I've heard it's, and I think it's, one of those things, people say it's, oh, Trinity's always done it. Well, what does always mean? But
Yeah.
the historic thing that they've done,
No,
probably,
that didn't stick with me.
maybe after you
Yeah.
got out of here, they started worshiping outdoors. Once people started taking buildings for granted.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
You're right.
that's-
Let's do that. I've had
Yeah.
my share of outdoor worship services.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, as a pastor in Glendora,
Mhm.
has a bring your tractor to church Sunday.
Oh, wow. There you go.
And it's a neat
Blessing
thing.
of the tractors? Or?
No, and all these farmers bring their tractors, and he has an outdoor service,
Okay.
and they have an ice cream social and stuff afterwards.
Yeah,
Kind of
that's
a
fun.
unique thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, well, you guys are always welcome to bring your tractors to Trinity.
There you
if you
go.
want.
I don't know how many.
I won't tell you where to park it, but you'll find a spot. But
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So
That's cool.
so I'm retired then, and now in 2015.
Okay. So are you retired, or are you pastor retired?
Yes. I do some fill-in preaching,
Yeah.
and I just I knew how hard it was to plan your vacation, get somebody to fill in for you. You know, when you're on a multiple staff, that's a lot easier.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, so when pastors down in Florida would ask if I could preach for them,
Right.
I try to say yes if I can.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I do that.
And it's fun. You get to see
Oh,
different churches. Meet
I
different
love it.
people and-
I wish you would be able to do that. You know what's
Yeah.
neat is that you could go down to Good Shepherd
Mhm.
or St. Philip's, are they still here?
Yep.
And some other churches,
Yeah.
and see how they worship and meet the people there.
Well, that's been one of the blessings here at Trinity with 3 pastors. Over the years we have done pulpit supply. I did the
Okay.
vacancy over Concordia, and
Oh, Concordia
when
too,
St.
yeah.
Philip's, they now have a vacancy guy, but for a while, a couple years ago, we were there about once a month.
Oh, really?
We were
Okay,
kind of
good,
rotating through
good.
there, so that was fun. But I don't know if I should say this or not. My retirement plan is to, my wife's an artist, is to have her do art shows around the country, and I'll call up churches around there and say, hey, any chance you need a guest preacher while we're in the area? So
You're worth your weight in gold.
that's my
I'll tell
my
ya.
plan. So
Yeah.
next couple of years I'll start looking into it.
Super,
Yeah.
super. Because there's a lot of people just waiting for somebody like
Yeah.
you. Will you take my service?
Yeah, no, and we've had those times here too where we need that assistance, and it
Sure.
can be hard to find. So,
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
well, that's awesome.
yeah.
Now, did Lois keep teaching? Did she follow with teaching positions around where you were? Or?
No, well, I shouldn't say no. Yeah, she did. She taught some preschool and mainly preschool and kindergarten. We did some daycare, and then she did a lot of assisting in the classrooms.
Okay. Yeah.
And that kept her hand there.
Yeah,
She liked
right.
that. Yeah. But she didn't have the responsibility of a lesson plan.
Right.
Which was fine with her, and what a great helpmate for me throughout the ministry. And she's always, poor thing, always was following me wherever we went.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. That's the
didn't
nature
always
of
have
the
a
beast
worship,
sometimes.
a sanctuary in which to worship.
Yeah. Yeah. Which can.
I don't think as in my 30+ years of ministry of a permanent sanctuary. We started one. We got a littler one in Naples, but that was just, it could only hold 150 or 100, not even that, 110. And that was smaller. But that was the only permanent one. The rest of it, we were in schools and gyms and all over the place.
Even when you were in St. Charles, they had.
Oh yeah, they still don't.
Oh,
They
really?
worship 500-600, and they're still in the multipurpose room we have.
Wow.
Yeah. They really
Interesting.
developed it, but we always dangled that carrot out that we would build a sanctuary someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Now, have you been able to go back to those places over the years?
Yeah, especially the ones in St. Charles, because that's where David lives
Okay.
in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And reconnect there at Zion, the Mother Church, and it's very, very similar to Trinity here in that generations are still there.
Yeah.
You know, and people, and that's neat. And a lot of churches don't have that, but
Right.
that one does.
And that's kind of our theme for this anniversary year is faithful generations. And,
Yeah.
And I like the two-prong approach to that where, you know, obviously there's generations of people who have been faithful, but our Lord has been faithful through all the generations that are here. And just to see that guiding hand, which you can't always see or appreciate at the time.
No.
Looking
No.
back, you're like, were it but for the grace of God, we wouldn't be here. And,
That's right.
And
Yeah, and Trinity had some rough roads too in their history, and by the faithfulness of God, you know, you're right, you're here today,
yep.
and going strong.
So, can I put you on the spot? Can you give me a little teaser for your sermon? What are you preaching about this weekend? Or are you like me? You haven't started yet? No.
Oh no, I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
And as you get older, I hate to say it, as you get older, preaching comes harder.
Okay.
You know, you're not used to preaching every Sunday.
Yeah, I can imagine being out of the weekly routine.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyway, Pentecost power for you.
Okay.
I like it, and I like it. I really love doing some research on it, and how the Lord promised that He's going to send His Spirit, and He did.
Yeah.
And what was it that He sent? And we're going to look at that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. The other one I asked when I was preaching for Pentecost, you know, I asked, how about ascension? Because I love ascension. That's the welcome home of our Savior in the halls of heaven.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. I don't know if it's because everybody's burned out from, you know, you get Christmas and then Easter fairly shortly after, but it's almost like we get these 4 major holidays, Ascension being one of them.
Exactly.
Right in the first half of the year, and we don't always appreciate. I think Ascension we don't even do an Ascension service here.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, just so busy, but there's such beauty in it. I talked about it at chapel last week.
Oh, did you?
We did a Wednesday chapel for Ascension, and I just love it seems like it's sad because Jesus is out of our mind, but but so I had I'm going to take the microphone here for a second. So
Go for it.
The kids I had just gone to Washington D.C. the day before for my daughter, and we came back right away the same day. But the people go out of their way to go see these monuments and everything, and wait in line to see these monuments, and I said, you know, if Jesus was still on earth physically present, people would have to go wait in lines to see him. But now he's available to everybody, the same, approachable, everywhere all at once. And it's through his word, through his promises, through his Spirit that we can go to Jesus whenever we want. We don't have to drive in the car or get in lines. It's and I love that beauty of the Ascension message, that he is with us. We can't see him, but he's with us.
Yeah, exactly. How neat is that?
Yeah.
Jonathan had a neat little, he had his Paschal candle in the front, and he extinguished it on Ascension. So Jesus, it's a transition from his earthly presence to his heavenly presence, but he's still with us. And it was a neat transition. And then he went around at we went to some nursing homes. I love going to nursing homes. And we had ticker tape parades. Remember the old ticker tape? You don't remember ticker tape.
I've seen
you
pictures,
don't even know
videos,
Anyway, we had the people in the nursing home throwing streamers, and just because that's the welcome home, mission accomplished, and we only had ticker tape parades for, you know, our MacArthur.
That's so cool.
And some others that Lucky Lindbergh. When he flew, and other people, but they were special. They got their mission done, and Jesus got his mission accomplished, and his Father welcomed him home. And if you think a ticker tape parade down here was something, the Cubs winning the World Series, now that probably was a ticker tape parade too.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We see that with the Super Bowl and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Champions.
But even more than that. But, and that was our Ascension service. So.
Oh, that's cool. So he's putting you to work while you're visiting, huh?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
That's good.
Yeah.
It sounds like you enjoy it.
Yeah, I do.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, anything else you'd like to share with the Trinity people that might be taking this in?
Well, just very thankful to be here. Again, I have some very, very good memories here. And I was hoping to see some of the people that I know here and reconnect with. And I just can't imagine how many times in ministry a Bible passage would come to my mind and I'd shoot that out, or a hymn verse, and all because of my roots here.
Now, do those have memories attached with them of when you learned them?
Oh, no.
Okay,
But just, I knew I had to do it here.
From somewhere in, I get that.
Pruder's class, she was good at that. Yeah,
I get that. It's like, how do I know that? I don't even remember
Yeah,
learning it. But
that's the spirit.
Yeah.
Bring to your remember. You just talk I get an illustration right there in my Sunday sermon.
There you go.
And the Holy Spirit will bring to you remember the things you were taught and the things you were, things that you would know.
Well, that's good stuff. So.
Cool.
All right. Well, if you got any questions, want to follow up, you can hit the comments on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching this, or shoot me a message, and I'll pass it along to Pastor Liebich. And
I'll send it along to either two people, my brother Buck or John Quackenbush.
Yeah.
You'll get some answers there you didn't think about.
I'm going to have to touch base with both of them, follow-up questions with them. But no, thanks for being here. And Pastor Liebich's sermon will be part of the service. I will also stream wherever you're watching this. So thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for being here. What a pleasure.
Yep, you bet.
Thank you.